I want to talk about Corona. I've realized that, part of this journey, part of this, filming myself and documenting my journey means, doing these little, I don't know, landing in what is important and what people are talking about. And sometimes I feel that some of these bigger things that are so big and so like everyone's talking about them, but it would be weird to look back on the time we're living in right now and me not even mentioning what everyone is talking about right now. So I thought I would sit down and let's talk about Corona. I mean, we had the bird flu, we had the swine flu. Those are the, I guess, two bigger ones that I've lived through in later years. And then we have this, and I think a lot of people kind of treated coronavirus as the previous ones. It happens. Some people will be in trouble. Some people will be really affected by it, but most people won't. It'll be like a news cycle. It'll come and it'll go away. And sure, when it came to one of the previous ones, a lot of people in Sweden took a shot in prevention of the virus. We can't really do that yet. And the fact that back then it was something that was on the news and then it kind of went away in a way, even though people were affected. But this is different. This affects people in completely different way because, when you have an illness, a virus that has the look of some of the more common sicknesses, the flu, you kind of don't know what it is because you can't really distinguish it. A normal person wouldn't be able to tell that I have this. Someone else who is knowledgeable about this has to confirm it. And the fact that it has come to, in the last couple of weeks, change not only our travel patterns, but the sports we watch, the places where we go to gather, washing hands, which should be something that is extremely natural to do any time of the year, but especially when there's a flu season. That has become something. And I was thinking about this morning, the general fear of things happening to society, and I remember the thankfully failed attempt at a attack in Sweden a couple of years ago, where a guy strapped himself and then set fire to a car to gather people, and then I guess the plan was to go there and then boom. But he thankfully accidentally set off one of these explosives prematurely, and he was the only one who died. But I remember the feeling afterwards, the feeling that some people would say, I'm going to avoid crowds, I'm not going to go into town to do my Christmas shopping. Other people were like, we can't let fear control our patterns. And the way I was thinking is like, what are the odds? Like really, what are the odds that I would be walking somewhere where something really bad would happen? They're pretty high. When odds are high, it's unlikely. But this is different because we don't know. We don't know who has it. We don't know the proximity to people, and do we shake hands like that or that or that? It's weird how something can change the pattern and the way people think about how they interact with each other, behaviors, in such a strong way. And at the same time, a lot of rumors go around. But I think what I wanted to say about this is that this has changed something in our behavior so radically. And it's also, and this is something, people talk about, the fact that, Swedes who are affected, several of them are people who, I don't know, could afford to go to Italy during a winter break, which is not something that maybe other parts of society had the money to do. So it's an odd thing that those people are affected, but not the ones that sadly are normally affected. So everything is kind of upside down and weird, and I've been affected with work I have, where I have, missions to film stuff, but then they decide to, okay, let's postpone this because we don't want to gather a lot of people and this and that. So I guess what I wanted to say is we're in the midst of something that we can't really see the end of. I mean, I don't know if you can compare it to the bushfires in Australia, which was a natural disaster on so many levels, but I think somehow most of us thought that if we just put enough effort in, if we donate money, if people give their time, this will be under control eventually, with a lot of losses, enormous losses, but it will be under control. We don't know what this is that's happening now. And I don't mean to spread fear or anything, but again, of course, if you're older, one has to be cautious. And I mean, yesterday, leaders in Italy basically put the whole country more or less in shutdown, which is interesting because that is definitely a change of pattern on how to behave. But I guess in the same way that people gave a lot of money and a lot of time to the bushfires in Australia, we now have to make other kinds of sacrifices in order to kind of start keeping this in check. And that means, suspension of football games, suspension of great crowds gathering, because we are controlled by our behavior, and our behavior is controlled by media, and media, I don't know. I really don't know. Good talk.